The importance of these character jacks. These were the first character jacks. They came with their own story, their own narrative, their own key parts that they played. In the faction identity, but also how the faction played. So they ended up really being quite integral and quite important keystones for a faction identity. So the Apotheosis era was a really important era for Warmachine. It brought larger models, and it brought this sort of sense of innovation and grandeur. The scale had suddenly just got a bit bigger. But I think one of the most exciting things about that particular time in Warmachine was the release of the very first character warjacks. So up until that point, warjacks had been, essentially a pattern-based entity, but now they had an actual name, a personality, and they really formed a core part of your faction's identity as a result. And I think this is why we're seeing so much love and so much nostalgia for these jacks that you first saw in the Apotheosis era. These characters that people had fallen in love with back then, and what do they now look like now, but with this larger footprint and this larger presence on the tabletop?
So the Thunderhead has always been at the forefront of Cygnar technology back in the day, and there's no change now. He continues to push the boundaries of what Cygnar do in the Iron Kingdoms and their technology advances that they show everyone else. So the Thunderhead has got a very cool ability called Chain Reaction. Chain Reaction allows this building momentum throughout the game, and every turn the Thunderhead in this iteration gets more and more powerful and a real threat on the board that you've got to deal with. One of the ways this Super Heavy actually interacts with the game is through its drone servitors. So every turn it can put a drone servitor on the board. That interaction allows these new little solos to cause havoc on the board. And as the game progresses, they get more and more powerful and more ways of utilizing these drone servitors to impact the game. He brings a brand new playstyle to the game and really helps encapsulate what Cygnar are about, bringing the electrifying game to the table. Ionization becomes a key factor of the army, and he really helps bring that to the table, spread it around through servitor use, and is a cool Super Heavy. Yeah. So like the other Super Heavies, typically you build the list around the Warcaster in an army, but the Thunderhead is so iconic in what it brings that actually you can build lists around it, right? The electrifying damage it puts out and the increased ionization, the way it can pulse on the board, all the kind of functionality it has really helps you define what it can be on the board and really helps bring out the electrical game of Cygnar, with Stormlegion especially. I think this is going to be Sparkhammer's best friend on the board, so we'll see that happening, I think. So the Thunderhead Super Heavy, as you may have seen, it flies, right? So bringing a real new dynamics, the first flying warjack that Cygnar have had, which is kind of cool. On the board, when you see it, like the model itself is incredible. It's like levitating on this electrical field, traveling across the board, really kind of iconic and eye-catching model. The little servitors are also pretty cool. They kind of add to the flavor, but I think it really helps again bring that Stormlegion element. Like the idea of this faction is all about modern technology, bring the electrical gameplay into it, and causing the storm and surge across the board.
So Deathjack's just the best. I just have vivid memories of every time you put him down on the table, your opponent's shoulders just slump a little bit, and he's the apex predator. He's got his own agenda. He's no one quite knows what he's there to do. He's like man of mystery or jack of mystery, but incredibly powerful, very scary. Always earned his points. That's a lie. He didn't always earn his points.
So Deathjack is a creature which has been roaming Western Immoran for some time. It wasn't defeated or destroyed during the claiming like a lot of other warjacks and a lot of other characters were. It's something which has been out there somewhere. And it's something where Cryx have found this creature. And that feels like the best way to describe Deathjack. It's a very unique warjack. It's not the same as the others. It's not inherently Cryxian. It is something unknown from before then. Its agendas align with the Cryx, but for the moment. And this is something where this has now come back to strike terror into the hearts of everyone, players and our world alike.
So Behemoth is the original character warjack for Khador. It very much epitomizes the sort of the heavy armored, raw stats, brute force playstyle of Khador, and very much in Wintercore's style as well. Behemoth, before the original Colossals, was the biggest warjack on the table, so you always had that intimidation factor of just putting this enormous model down. And you get that again with the new super heavy version of Behemoth. You put it down, it's an intimidating model to play against. You know what it can destroy, you know what it's going to take to destroy it as well. And it has that sort of fun level of your opponent knows that psychologically that you're playing against something that's difficult. Of course, making them into super heavy warjacks makes them an 80mm base, puts them really nicely between heavies and colossals, and they're just a really intimidating and imposing force on the table. So Behemoth 2's silhouette is very iconic to Khador players. You've got the outline of the big shoulders, the bombards going across the top as well, those huge fists it hits with the shaped charges, the blasting fist that it punches through things with. But the bottom side of it now, it kind of looks like it's been stuck on top of a bison. It has these all-terrain tracks that allow it to move with so much more swiftness and through terrain that it couldn't do before. So it's still this mobile shooting platform that'll just obliterate anything it comes into contact with. The return of the Behemoth is a really iconic moment for the Khadoran people. Khador's really suffering with the Orgoth invasion at the moment. They're really taking the brunt of the attacks. They're losing a lot of land. They're losing a lot of manpower and resources. So this really represents a changing of the tide where they can rally behind this iconic national figure. I think fans of playing Khador, new and old, are going to really enjoy putting this model on the table. It's iconic, it can lead your army, it's a centerpiece, and it's just great to have it back.
So Azdharak is unique amongst the other super heavies in that it's not a returning character. It's a brand new one to the world of Warmachine, which is super, super exciting to see. So unlike the other factions, there's never been a tradition of super heavies in the Orgoth Sea Raiders. This is something where their experience of warjacks was originally the original OG Colossals, and then over time they've had agents working within Western Imran to see what everyone else is doing. They've created this vessel for something, and they've brought it across to Western Imran with them because there's something quite special about Azdharak. Azdharak is actually the result of a demonic ritual to summon a presence into a body of a warjack rather than a traditional cortex setup which everyone else is used to. Azdharak isn't a warjack that's built for liberation of land. It's not something that's built as part of an army defending against an invader. It's an instrument of terror. It's something swooping over the top of forests, over the top of rooftops, leaving a burning trail of ash in its wake. It's a creature which is there as much to just send terror and dread into the inhabitants of Western Nirma, and that's how the Orgoth are using it. It's very, very different to what the other super heavies are in terms of how it operates.
So the challenge for this was creating something that is new, distinct, useful, valuable, impactful, deserving of its place in a modern army. Just want to read you something. We're recording, right? Yes. This is my design notes that I wrote for Azdharak. I'm a massive robot dragon from hell. I'm flying in from downtown and burning everyone on my way. Eat my ash. Anyone who gets left gets their head sliced off and stabbed in the heart until they're dead. Raw. And from that, the guys have come up with something pretty cool.
So one of the most exciting things about the super heavies for me is the visual presence they have on the table. They are centerpiece models. They are something where, you know, we saw it with Invictus, we saw it with Carver, we saw it with Aberration. It's something where people look at these models and get really excited about seeing this centerpiece that can really define what an army looks like. Everything else is built around them.
and each one brings a new play style. They interact with casters that may not have been used before, so it's going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out and how people really use these models.
I'm incredibly proud of where these Super Heavies have got to from a game design point of view. The background stories that you know, sort of Sherwin and I and the rest of the writing team have been working on, they fit beautifully, and they're really adding so much layers and structure to the story that's being told right now as well. So yeah, exciting times.
But for players new and old, these are going to be like unique characters you can really get behind. You can really sort of, you know, build a personality to your armor list even if you want to, and just have this be a centerpiece model that you want to play around tactically, narratively. Have a lot of fun with them.
What you feel from a Cygnar army, what you feel from a Khador army, you're going to really feel that when you put these models on the table. They're from their play style, what they bring to the table, and how the opponent deals with them. So they all really embody what each army represents.
You've got a lot of players that are coming into the game for the first time now that never got to experience these characters the first time round. They'll have heard stories of players that have been around for 10, 20 years about how cool they were to play with, and now they get to play with them too.
I can't wait to tell the stories of what will happen with these characters, how they're going to influence the world, what happens next for them.
It's going to look the same, it's going to feel the same, but it's going to feel different and new and exciting as a result of that. So these character jacks are going to really set the world on fire, I think. Well, one in particular is.